For centuries, knowledge has been hidden in plain sight across the sands of time. Whispers of lost civilizations, cryptic symbols, and forbidden histories have been erased or concealed. What if the truth was never lost, but hidden? Welcome to Eye of Ancient Mysteries, where the past speaks and the future listens. Sit back, open your mind, and prepare to uncover the untold secrets of our world. Let the journey begin now. The four most famous alien abduction claims. For decades, stories of alien abductions have captivated our imagination, making us wonder whether they are real or not. Encounters with beings said to be from other planets have become a defining phenomenon of the 20th century. To many skeptics, these stories are nothing more than the inventions of attention seekers, but for many others, they represent a widely accepted version of truth. From eerie alien abductions and medical experiments to extraterrestrial sex, here are four of the most fascinating and well-known cases of alleged alien abduction. 1. Betty and Barney Hill. The first widely publicized alien abduction in the United States occurred on September 19, 1961, in rural New Hampshire. Betty and Barney Hill were driving home at night after a vacation in Montreal and Niagara Falls. While Barney was driving, Betty noticed a light in the sky that looked like a falling star but moved erratically, even vertically. She urged her husband to stop the car, and they pulled over at a picnic area near Twin Mountain with their dog, Delzy, in the back seat. They both stepped out of the car and took turns using their binoculars to observe the object, which was clearly visible and moved across the face of the moon. Betty's sister had previously claimed to have seen a flying saucer, so Betty was convinced that's what she was looking at. Barney, however, thought it was a commercial airplane until it abruptly changed direction and began moving toward them. He then realized it couldn't possibly be a plane. The couple got back into the car and drove slowly, following the object as it descended and hovered over the area. Betty estimated that the craft was over 60 feet long and appeared to be rotating. Suddenly, the object descended toward them. They stopped the car and Barney got out. The craft was close enough that he could see figures through the windows. One of the beings communicated a message. "Stay where you are and keep looking." That was one of the last things either of them remembered that night. When they regained consciousness, they felt uneasy and knew that something had happened, but their memories were gone. Once home, they noticed that their watches had stopped working. Barney's shoes were scuffed, and Betty's dress was torn at the hem and covered with a strange pink powder. A few days later, Betty began having vivid dreams in which she and her husband were stopped by short gray men in blue uniforms and military-style caps who led them into the woods. In her dreams, she recalled being in a trance. Later, both Betty and Barney underwent hypnosis to recover their lost memories. Barney recalled being told to close his eyes and being placed in a trance-like state. He remembered the beings mumbling in a strange language but communicating telepathically, reassuring him not to be afraid. Betty's hypnosis sessions revealed memories consistent with Barney's, though they differed slightly from her dreams, usually in minor details such as the being's appearance, the spacecraft's technology, and the sequence of events. From memory, Betty drew a star map, later identified as pointing to the Zeta Reticuli star system, to Antonio Villas Boas on October 16, 1957, while working late at night on his family's farm in Brazil. 23-year-old Antonio Villas Boas claimed to have been abducted by aliens. He reported seeing a large, egg-shaped craft with a dome on top and a rotating red light. The craft landed on 3 legs, and several beings about 1.5 meters tall emerged. Antonio tried to escape on his tractor, but the engine stalled, and he ran on foot. Eventually, he was captured by the beings, who wore gray coveralls and helmets. They brought him aboard the craft, where they removed their helmets, revealing small blue eyes and communicating through a series of animal-like grunts. Once inside, Antonio was stripped naked and covered in a gel-like substance. He was taken through a door decorated with red symbols, which he later reproduced from memory, into a semicircular room. The beings drew blood from his chin and then left him alone in another room, where a gas made him feel nauseated. After the nausea passed, a naked alien woman entered. Antonio described her as very attractive, with platinum blonde hair, red pubic hair, a pointed chin, and large, cat-like eyes. He felt irresistibly drawn to her, and they engaged in sexual intercourse. Instead of kissing him, she bit his chin. Afterward, the woman smiled, patted her belly, and pointed upward before leaving. Antonio's clothes were returned, and he was shown around the ship before being escorted off. When he arrived home, he realized 4 hours had passed. A medical exam following his account found that he showed signs consistent with mild radiation sickness. 3. Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson on October 11, 1973. Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson were fishing on the banks of the Pascagoula River in Mississippi when Parker was distracted by blue lights reflecting off the water's surface. Thinking it was a police car, the 2 men instead found themselves the subjects of an alien abduction. They looked up to see a large, football-shaped craft descending silently, except for a faint hissing sound. 3 beings floated toward them. Parker described them as having pincer-like hands and slit-like robotic mouths. One was gray and necklace, while the other 2 appeared more feminine. The beings wrapped their pincers around the men's necks and paralyzed them. Parker said he felt a tingling sensation but no fear, as though in a trance. The 2 were taken aboard the craft and subjected to medical-like examinations. Hickson recalled a large eye-shaped machine moving over his body and being surrounded by beings about 5 feet tall. Later, both men found themselves back on the riverbank, as if nothing had happened. They went to the police to report the encounter. Captain Ryder didn't believe them and left a hidden tape recorder running in the interrogation room, hoping to catch them admitting to a hoax. Instead, their private conversation reaffirmed their story. Hickson said to Parker, "Jesus Christ, God have mercy. I thought I'd been through enough hell on this earth, and now I have to go through something like this. But they could have hurt us, you know. I guess they will. They could have done anything." Parker replied, "I just want to cry right now. The worst part is, nobody's going to believe us." For decades, the two men avoided public attention. After Hickson's death in 2011, Parker published a book in 2018. Since then, other residents of the area have come forward saying they too saw a UFO that night. 4. Travis Walton. American forestry worker Travis Walton disappeared on November 5, 1975, while working in the Apache Sitgraves National Forest in Arizona. He and 6 co-workers were driving home in a truck when they spotted a disc-shaped object hovering about 100 feet above them. Walton exited the vehicle to investigate. A beam of light shot out from the craft, knocking him unconscious, and the others fled in panic. Walton later claimed he awoke in a hospital-like room, observed by 3 short, bald beings. He struggled until 3 human-like figures restrained him and placed a transparent mask over his face. He blacked out again, later regaining consciousness 5 days afterward, walking along a highway as he watched the craft fly away. All 6 of Walton's co-workers took polygraph tests. Aside from one inconclusive result, they all passed. In 1978, Walton published The Walton Experience, detailing his story, which was later adapted into the 1993 film Fire in the Sky. The film was critically acclaimed and remains one of the most popular alien abduction movies ever made. Walton continues to make appearances at UFO conventions and even hosts his own UFO conference in Arizona. Although these alien abduction stories are fascinating and have received considerable public and media attention, skeptics argue that such claims are often fabricated, whether as cover-ups for psychological trauma, bids for attention, or simply for profit. Whatever the truth, these stories have become famous and have fueled our curiosity about extraterrestrial encounters and UFO abductions. Perhaps one day we'll discover the real truth behind such encounters. But until then, they remain an enduring mystery.